If your tomatoes are still turning soft or moldy like this, it simply means you haven't been storing them the right way. Hi everyone, it's Tracy here. Today, I'm going to show you 5 storage methods that keep tomatoes firm, sweet, and fresh for months. And tip number 3 is an old, time-tested secret that longtime tomato farmers have used for generations. All right, let's get started. First, to make sure your tomatoes last as long as possible, choose fresh. Firm ones, any variety you like is fine, as long as they're not soft or bruised. Next, you'll need to clean them with a diluted vinegar solution. Mix 3 cups of 5% distilled white vinegar with enough clean water to fully cover the tomatoes. Stir gently to combine, then gently place the tomatoes in and soak them for 2 minutes. This ratio is important because it provides just the right level of acidity to kill mold spores and bacteria without affecting the tomato's natural flavor. After soaking, lift the tomatoes out and gently dry them, especially around the stem area, where water often collects. Any remaining moisture can quickly cause mold to grow again. Method 1. Storing tomatoes in Ziploc bags. This method is nothing new, but it works beautifully for keeping all kinds of tomatoes fresh for several weeks. And since I picked up some cherry tomatoes today, let me show you how to store those as well. First, sort your tomatoes by ripeness. Place the firm, slightly green ones in one group, and the soft, fully ripe tomatoes in another. Firm tomatoes ripen more slowly, while ripe tomatoes release more ethylene gas, which can speed up spoilage if they're stored together. Prepare a few clean, dry Ziploc bags. Line the bottom of each bag with a kitchen towel to absorb natural moisture, because moisture is the #1 cause of mold, especially once the bag is sealed. Now place the tomatoes into their separate bags, firm tomatoes in one, ripe tomatoes in another. Be gentle, especially with cherry tomatoes, to avoid bruising. Before sealing the bags, remove as much air as possible. You can press the bag flat, use a straw to gently suck the air out, or place the opening near a hairdryer on a cool setting. Reducing the air slows oxidation and helps the tomatoes stay fresh longer. Seal the bags and place them in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator, but remember to line the drawer with a clean towel before setting the bags in. If space is tight, keep the firm tomatoes at the bottom and the ripe ones on top. This makes it easier to use the ripest tomatoes first and prevents unnecessary bruising. With this method, tomatoes, especially cherry tomatoes, can stay fresh for several weeks, sometimes even up to a month. Method 2. Preserving tomatoes with olive oil. If you prefer a method that doesn't require refrigeration, then you definitely don't want to skip this one using olive oil. First, place the tomatoes on a flat tray or wicker basket with the stem side facing up. This position helps prevent moisture from collecting at the top, which is one of the main causes of spoilage. Then, take a small amount of olive oil and use a cotton swab to lightly dab and spread the oil over the stem area. You don't need much. A very thin layer is enough. Once the oil dries, it forms a natural protective film that helps block air and bacteria from entering through the stem, which is the most vulnerable part of the tomato. If you apply too much oil, the tomatoes may soften too quickly, so remember, the less, the better. After coating the stems, place the tray in a cool, airy spot away from direct sunlight and heat sources. Setting it on the kitchen counter, away from the stove or in a shaded corner, works best. With this method, your tomatoes will stay firm, juicy, and smooth-skinned for 7 to 10 days without needing the refrigerator. And the best part is that the light aroma of olive oil actually enhances the flavor, making the tomatoes perfect for salads. bruschetta, or any dish where you want that fresh, summery taste. Method 3. Breathable basket. This is actually the method I'm most excited to share with you, storing tomatoes in a breathable basket. It's a tip passed down from tomato farmers, and after trying it myself, I can say it works incredibly well. Start by choosing a basket or tray with plenty of airflow. Rattan, bamboo, mesh, or any kind of open weave material will do. Arrange the tomatoes in a single layer, leaving enough space between them so air can circulate easily. If you have many tomatoes, you can add a second layer, but remember to place a sheet of soft paper or a thin towel between the layers to protect the tomatoes while still allowing ventilation. Keep the basket in a cool, airy place, away from direct sunlight, heat sources, or humid areas like near the stove or sink. The ideal temperature is between 65 Fahrenheit and 72 Fahrenheit, 18 degrees, to 22 degrees. At this range, tomatoes will stay firm, juicy, and flavorful for 5 to 7 days, and cherry tomatoes can last up to 10 days. Check the basket once a day and remove any tomatoes that show signs of bruising or softness. This prevents one spoiled tomato from affecting the others. This method is especially useful if you buy tomatoes in large quantities or prefer keeping them at room temperature for better flavor when cooking or making salads. Method 4. Blanching tomatoes in hot salt vinegar brine. This next method is a wonderful way to keep tomatoes fresh for a year or even longer. They stay firm, full of flavor, and perfect for cooking whenever you need them. Start by choosing tomatoes that are firm and free from bruises. Gently place the tomatoes into clean glass jars to avoid cracking or damage. Once the jars are filled, pour boiling water over the tomatoes until they are completely covered. Seal the jars with lids and leave them for 15 minutes. This step gently heats the tomatoes and prepares them for the preserving process. After 15 minutes, don't throw this liquid away. Pour the water from the jar into a pot and use it to make your brine. Add 50 grams of sugar, 50 ml of 9% vinegar, and 50 grams of salt. Then stir well and bring the mixture to a boil. While waiting, finely chop 1 clove of garlic. When the brine reaches a boil, remove the pot from the heat. Add a small amount of chopped garlic to each jar, then carefully pour the hot brine over the tomatoes. Wipe the rim of each jar to ensure a tight seal, then close with a lid. Gently shake the jar so the garlic spreads evenly. Let the jars cool completely before storing them in a cool, dark place. Tomatoes preserved this way will stay fresh and flavorful for a year or more, ready for soups, sauces, stews, or any recipe that calls for rich, delicious tomatoes. Method 5. Layered tomatoes with fresh herbs. This final method is the perfect choice if you love rich, flavorful tomatoes. It combines tomatoes, fresh herbs, red onion, garlic, and hot brine to create a beautiful preserved jar that can last up to 1 year at room temperature. Start by cutting the tomatoes into quarters if they're large, or leaving smaller ones whole. Next, prepare a bunch of dill and a bunch of parsley, washed and cut into bite-sized pieces, and set them aside. Then slice half a red onion and several cloves of garlic into thin, even slices. Take a clean, dry glass jar and begin layering. Add a little garlic to the bottom, a few whole black peppercorns, a handful of herbs, then a layer of tomatoes. Follow with red onion, Then more garlic, more herbs, and more tomatoes. Keep layering until the jar is full, finishing with red onion and herbs on top. Next, boil drinking water and pour the boiling water into the jar. Seal the jar and let it sit for 15 minutes so the heat can penetrate the ingredients. After 15 minutes, pour the water from the jar into a pot. This will become your base sauce. For each 1-liter jar, add 2 teaspoons of salt, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of neutral cooking oil. Bring the mixture to a boil. Add 25 milliliters of 9% vinegar to the jar. Then pour the boiling sauce over the ingredients. Seal the lids tightly. Cover the jars with a large towel and let them cool completely. Once cooled, you can store these jars at room temperature for up to a year. They're perfect for salads, pasta, soups, or any dish where you want tomatoes with deep, herb-infused flavor. And those are the 5 simple ways to keep your tomatoes fresh, flavorful, and ready to use anytime you need them. Let me know in the comments which method you like the most. I hope today's tips make it easier for you to store your tomatoes and keep them at their best. If you found this helpful, please give the video a like, share it with someone who loves to cook, and don't forget to subscribe for more practical everyday tips. Thank you so much for watching.